Morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Corporation of Township of Puslinch, April 15th, 2026. We'll start with a roll call. Councilor Spillis. Here. Councilor Bailey.
Here.
Councilor Hurst.
Present.
And Councilor Goyder.
Present.
In our moment of reflection. There's our moment of reflection. So we missed Brotherston. To confirmation agenda, please.
That council approves the April 15th, 2026 agenda and addendum as circulated, and the council approves the addition to the agenda as follows. Consent item 6.1.2, questions received from council seeking additional information and corresponding responses provided by staff regarding the April 15th, 2026 council agenda.
Okay, move it, please. Councilor Goyder, Councilor Spillis, any questions or comments? In favor? It's carried. In disclosure of pecuniary interest to me. Seeing none. Right. I believe we have a resolution going into close.
Yes.
As indicated on the agenda, we're going into closed at 10:05. Sorry, we have the wrong person. It's Brotherston.
That council shall go into closed session under section 239 of the Municipal Act for the purpose of a confidential report regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and that's in relation to a violation of complaint policy section 314C. Confidential report regarding a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which if disclosed could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, a person's organization. That's in related to infrastructure expansion feasibility. Confidential report regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting municipality or local board. That's in relation to a potential environmental review tribunal. Confidential report regarding personal matters of an identifiable individual, including municipal local board employees. That's in relation to senior figure nominations. A confidential report regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. That's in relation to an Ontario Land Tribunal matter. A confidential report regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board in relation to a township road allowance. Confidential minutes from the previous closed meeting, the March 25th, 2026 closed meeting minutes, and a confidential report regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and that's related to a complaint update report.
Thank you for doing that. Just saying that I'm on Courtney's Christmas card list because I don't make her read those. Somebody has to. All right. Mover and seconder for that, please. Councilor Hurst, Councilor Bailey, any questions or comments? All in favor? It's carried. We will go into closed. It's a lot of reading.
Okay, resolution read by clerk to move into.
That council moves into open session at 1:29 p.m.
Moving. Second. So first, all in favor? Okay.
I have a pecuniary interest, Mr. Chair. And that was item 14.5 in the closed session. That's WDD Maine. And the general nature of pecuniary interest was, or is, I own property adjacent to the proposed development, and I excused myself from the closed session for that.
So we have a resolution from our clerk that with respect to the direction given to the various items in the closed session.
That council receives the following reports for information: confidential report regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communication necessary for that purpose, related to a bylaw complaint policy section 314C. Confidential report regarding a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which if disclosed can reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization. That was related to infrastructure expansion feasibility. Confidential report regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, which is related to a potential environmental review tribunal. Confidential report regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, that was related to senior of the year nomination. Confidential report regarding litigation, potential litigation, including matters before an administrative tribunal affecting the municipality or local board, that was related to an Ontario Land Tribunal matter. Confidential report regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, which was related to a township road allowance. Confidential minutes from the previous closed meeting, March 25th, 2026, closed meeting minutes, and a confidential report regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. That is related to a complete update report, and that staff custody master.
Thank you. We have a mover. Mr. Boyd, a seconder, Council Bailey, all in favor? Great, thank you. Mr. Mayor, turn the chair over to you.
And you, Mr. Chair. All right, next item, I believe we're on to CIP presentation. Welcome.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Kelly. I'm from a small design planning outfit up in Center Wellington called Plural, and we've been working with the township on a community improvement plan. And there's a presentation here. I have about 20 slides I will share with you. Now we can go to the next slide, please. First of all, I want to start and say the project team was composed of several individuals in our office, but I also want to put great thanks out to Justine, Laura, and certainly Mary, who spent a great amount of time going through documents, working with us and making sure we're getting things work right where they needed to be, and certainly for setting up some of the public engagement pieces that we've had done. So today I'm going to talk about 10 topics. That'll be next slide, Laura. I'm going to cover things that you might know a bit about already, understanding a CIP, the CIP process. I'll generalize that. And then we'll look at what the 26 CIP overview is about, look at the goals, the key changes, what we heard from the community, how we ended up with a new community improvement project area for the township, so the existing financial incentive programs, and then the new financial incentive programs, and we'll talk quickly about implementation. And this will go relatively quickly. So basically, the next one's understanding a CIP, and that's really something for us. It's a tool. Community improvement plan is an economic development tool. And we do this to provide financial incentives in the forms of grants to businesses and landowners. It's legislated under a planning act, and what we see with this is that it's a plan or framework to encourage the maintenance and rehabilitation of existing commercial, industrial, institutional, and heritage buildings and structures, improvement of commercial signage, redevelopment of vacant and underutilized properties and buildings. Updates do occur periodically. That's a specific definition, and not everything in that may apply to every community we work in. So to generalize the process, there's really three things that need to be done. Putting it together, you meet with the township project leads, and in this case, the director of finance and treasurer and the director of corporate services and municipal clerk. You review, you look at a few things, you research, you analyze, you compare, you put together a draft, and then you organize in the engagement pieces. In the case for Puslinch, for us, it was 2 open houses. Getting approval requires really 2 things. Obviously, you have the report, but the other part is really providing notice of statutory public meeting and then actually doing that meeting, at which time you'll have a 20-day appeal period. After that, and if everything is good, we're ready to go. So right now we're bringing this to council, and this evening we'll be doing a public information meeting, and we've already sent over copies of the CIP over to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing for comment. They aren't approvers, they just actually comment. So the overview for us is really about satisfying township needs. So we're building on a previous CIP. So this has really been made now to reflect the current planning context. And what we were told and what we're sensing is that, obviously the township is evolving. At the same time, the county has its own financial incentive program. We want to have better alignment with that. We basically want to also increase clarity regarding the plan's purpose, goals, objectives, the administration, and management. And what I'll note there is that every municipality we work with in township, municipality, they tend to have different structures. So getting that right and getting the fit is something that's not just a box checking at all. We reworked the financial incentive programs. We removed underutilized programs. We consolidated, we renamed a couple. We added a few new ones as well. And redefine some planning parameters to ensure that we had some consistency. We have about a 6-section or part document, just under 50 pages, 45 plus pages. That's a nice size document, public face as well, and easy to get through. You don't want it much bigger than that. Content really includes things like community and stakeholder consultation, the legislative requirements, the delineation of what we call a community improvement project area, or a CIPA, and then the incentives, which in this case, we have 4 new ones for 2026 version. And then any eligibility guidelines, application requirements, and some examples and definitions are included as well in the document. 4 township goals came to us with the project. Obviously, the first one is really, can we take what we had once as a corridor project with Aberfoyle and Morriston and expand that, which was in your previous CIP, and expand it to township wide? That's certainly on trend. Almost every municipality we're working with these days is trying to make it municipal wide, I think for obvious reasons. The second one is really visibility and accessibility. How do we enhance businesses within the township? And a newer trend we're seeing a lot of them is basically now projecting out in the countryside matters, certainly of farming, agricultural, farm stands, any businesses, commercial activities out in our agricultural sector that can be brought to the forefront, should be eligible to participate in the community improvement plan. And the fourth one really is, the redevelopment and vacant and underutilized lands. Really, really important and pretty typical to most CIPs we're working with these days. So the key changes that came from us, these were informed through open houses, township staff input, some of the comparative analyses that we were doing with other municipalities in the area and outside the area, and general experience based on our work. For this CIP, expanding the CIPA, I already mentioned this, to encompass the full township boundary, reworking of existing financial grant programs, moving or combining underutilized programs together to consolidate, rename these programs, simplifying the language where we could to reduce confusion and barriers to participation. A lot of times plans aren't picked up because people just think they can't read it and get through it. Adding 4 new incentive grant programs for the township. We also reorganized all financial incentive grant programs to ensure pertinent information such as purpose, value, eligibility criteria, and eligible costs were much easier identified. And then they update the language to make financial incentive grants better aligned with obviously the county's grants, and ensure eligibility criteria were in better keeping. We did go out to the community. What we heard in a nutshell, the township was seeking fewer programs, a broader application and scope in order to ease implementation and improvement of the understandability of the various programs by applicants. We had 2 consultations. The first one back in November, 20 participants, many council members came out. Really, we run these as free form. You come in, panels are set up, you get to see what's there. You can spend time, you can talk to us if you need to. The purpose was really to collect information from any participants, and ideally, business owners and tenants, anyone that may apply to this, and try to find out some of the local issues and needs to be addressed through a CIP and things that we can actually take on. In addition, we would have provided a menu of incentive programs. We run around 20 of these. Some of them are duplications, just renamed differently, but what we're trying to do is just get the tone, the temptation, and certainly the appreciation of the community for the types of programs they feel may be suited to the township. So these are just a listing, and there's a bit of a interactive or an activity they can do with these to kind of highlight these for us. The second one happened in March, where we came back with a reduced version of that, certainly on the CIP front. In addition, we had more information on the urban design project that might be guidelines that would generate interest, and certainly a bit of a framework for anyone going after specific CIP incentive programs. With decent participation that night as well. I think both were quite well received and good nights. So we did have some things identified. grant interest ranging from highest to lowest, and these were just things people would have, highlighted for us and marked for us. Doesn't mean anything to you right now, but this is this menu, this kind of generalized menu, not necessarily specific to Puslinch at this time, but to almost any municipality you'd work in. The highest that always come back to us are things like building improvements, conversion and expansion of buildings, and certainly anything about vacant and conversion and expansion grants. Well, pretty well received. Modest or in the middle of the pack was planning and building fee grants, facade signage and landscape improvement grants, TIGs or tax increment equivalent grants, farm gate improvement grants, commercial conversion startup grants, and the last one being more market and product related experience development kind of grant. Most ones that seem to have maybe some traction in some cases, but not a lot. Design and study grant, again, very similar to a building and fee grant, other than now you're getting dollars to pay an engineer or a designer to work with you. Building accessibility improvement grant, sustainable development grants, green infrastructure grant, again, very similar. Some teams that are focused more on industrial properties. Motor vehicle and bicycle parking grant, and then parking and landscaping improvement grant. So again, some of these sound similar, purposely done just to see if we could prompt some engagement. We then provided a community improvement plan memo to the township that came out in early February. That was distributed, and basically there we had some discussion. Mentioned on the existing financial incentive programs, which you have 6 of. We talked a bit more about the Wellington County's community improvement funding that's available, and then looked at current grant opportunities by category. Things like licensed home childcare, environmental impact reduction, these are categories, building accessibility, commercial conversion, leasehold improvements, and other considerations related to legibility of the document itself were kind of the themes that came out of some of the engagement. So we had some suggested directions, and overall adjusting the CIP formatting to improve legibility accessibility is the first thing we jumped on. Reorganizing the financial incentive programs to ensure any pertinent information can easily be identified. And we certainly felt that we were being told to provide programs that can support sustainable initiatives, and also consolidating some of the programs, simplifying language, just to ensure that, if we can get down to a smaller number of programs that do a little more, that may be better for the township. And then obviously updating language to make the township CIP grants better aligned with the county's programs. No big secret, one of the biggest things that have come out of this CIP will be altering the municipal boundaries, they're not the municipal, I'm sorry, the SEPA boundaries for the plan, which typically were our corridor plan, which again, I mentioned earlier, being Aberfoyle and Morriston. So now the lands within the municipal boundaries of the township are eligible for financial incentives under this CIP, as well as those now they're available to certainly the Wellington County's financial incentive programs as well. So I'm going to do a quick synopsis, certainly on the financial incentive programs, anything in red. As you can see here, new ones for 2026. You have 3 existing ones, and I'm going to talk about each one of these independently following this slide. I'd like to note, though, that not all programs are available necessarily in a given year. It's really up to the township to discern which ones would be advantageous. It's a bit of a strategy, figure out which ones you want to get mobilized right away, or we feel there's demand in as much as how you resource these and the dollars that go towards them. So based on township goals, priorities, and available funding, you can actually alter the mix, but these are the 7 that you will deal with. So existing programs, planning and building fees, grants, nothing too tricky about that. These are basically covering fees required by the township in relation to proposed improvement projects. Again, meant to be an incentive, helping folks getting motivated to do things and get their projects applied for. Facade signage and landscape improvement grants, probably, in my opinion, the most popular grant that you would see in most municipalities in Southern Ontario. Intended to assist with financing improvements to an existing building's facade or signage, or other eligible improvements to private property. You get parking and landscaping in there. There is agriculture related use here, farm stands, which are open to the visiting public and which represent a value added agricultural activity. building improvement grants as part of this, this third program that you would have. So meeting current building code, improving aesthetic quality, providing safe, usable, eligible uses, and some accessibility uses can fall under that one. We'll start with the new ones, the building conversion, expansion, accessibility improvement grants. So this is specifically focused on conversion or expansion and accessibility. So if you have unused or underused space and you have a new eligible use, you could go to this one. Will assist with the removal of barriers to increase accessibility for people with disabilities in the township. The grant is not huge, but $10 per square foot of eligible cost before tax. And again, the size and the maxims that you have on these are altered based on need. In this case, 3,000 seemed to be the spot that we landed on. Very similar to what we see in other municipalities. Examples of what could be eligible under this grant: conversion of vacant, underutilized, non-commercial or non-industrial building space into new eligible uses, expansion of existing eligible uses to increase gross floor area. This one, there's some hesitancy. Sometimes we see municipalities with this, but to align best with Wellington County programs, licensed home child care grant is something that's really come to the forefront. We're working on 5 of 7 municipal CIPs within the county, and I can tell you they all have them now. Because the county wants you to also be in line with what they may be able to offer your community as well. So we were making sure this is, I had some resistance, but I think at the end of the day, this should serve you well. It's intended to support improvements of private property to meet the requirements of licensed home child care providers as defined by Wellington County Home Child Care and the Ministry of Education. So, these are legitimate operations. The licensed home child care grant may be available to applicants to assist with improvements to existing buildings. I'll jump down to the bottom. If you need repair, replacement, installation of fire protection systems, if you want indoor play space, outdoor play space, sleep rest areas, eating areas, diapering, toileting areas, this is the type of grant that can help out with that. Number 6 is the Green Energy Infrastructure and Sustainable Development Grant. This is one where we actually put a bunch together for Tusledge. And really it's to support projects of existing buildings and even new developments that implement natural systems and infrastructure to assist with things like managing stormwater, improving air quality, reducing carbon emissions, enhancing community well-being, increasing climate resilience. But we find it's a catch-all grant. There's a lot of things there incumbent on the applicant to define and rationalize how it's actually going to help. Not a lot of dollars here, $3,000 maximum. You'll pay up to 50% of the eligible costs. But if you want to do something outside, put in a rain garden, deal with some stormwater management issues, you can do this. Permeable pavements, rain harvesting systems. There's a whole load of eligible costs for this one. And the last one's a commercial conversion startup grant. Again, some hesitancy sometimes with these grants, because why is that different than building improvement or conversion or expansion? This is specifically focused on brand new business startups. So what I'll jump down there too is certainly when you're looking at conversion of existing ground floor commercial space to better suit a new commercial use. So trying to get somebody that's never been a business, not expanding an existing business necessarily, but trying to bring them to your community and get them going. This is the grant that you'll push them to. It also starts up with a little more dollars. Again, meant to be motivating and an incentive. So, the building conversion grant might only be maxing out at $3,000. This one's at $7,500. A lot more money. So, if you have folks shopping around this part of the county looking to start a business, maybe not in your township, this is the one that you can actually put on the table and say that we can help you get into our township. So intend to support new small business startups to renovate or improve lease space destined for commercial uses. And if you have derelict structures, which most municipalities do, and so this township does, and I know them, and I can rhyme off half a dozen of these across the province we worked with that have been converted into viable enterprise. This is the grant that helps do that. So there's an implementation strategy for it. There's usually 5 parts. Marketing and monitoring is not here on this one, but those ones happen kind of naturally within a township. But the big thing, authority, basically, is implemented through Section 28 of the Planning Act. And it also conforms to the Wellington County official plan. That's really important. Delegation in this case will be the responsibility of the Director of Finance and Treasurer for Pusledge, for the township. And they're gonna be administered in part, through council decisions. And an established CIP implementation committee. So obviously information comes to council. Council can decide, take that information and make some decisions based on that. As with any CIPs we work on, first come, first served seem to be the basis. With limited available funding, you gotta work that way. You want transparency. You want to ensure that folks are applying the way they should be and they're giving good due service on their applications before putting them out. But again, first come, first served basis, the way that goes with that. And then the township CIP will be monitored by the Director of Finance, Treasurer. Annually, they should be providing a report to council. The other two, monitoring should happen, but be able to be reports, you're gonna be monitoring naturally. We do the monitoring because even CIPs have life cycles. They'll last so many years, and if you need an update or you need to swap out a program or find a new trending program, you may need to make that change. The monitoring is important. And the last thing I'll say, certainly marketing is very important on these. CIP programs don't get adhered to, they don't get traction because no one's marketing them. And I realize that, you know, in areas that have economic development officers that really walk the streets and knock on doors and say you need to do this, that sometimes could be a challenge, but making sure it's well represented on the website and there's people speaking about these and having knowledge about this and sending out reminders that these are available every year at a certain time, please apply, as it goes a long way. So it's about all I'm going to talk about on the CIP. Hopefully that's informative, and obviously you don't know that you got some really good people here that know what this plan is about. So I can certainly entertain questions through the chair if need be.
Thank you very much. Mr. Willis?
Yes, well, thank you for coming in. It's a very solid presentation, very logical, very easy to follow as most of the report. I have some questions. I guess it's staff as well as you. So we'll start with staff. The timing of the implementation, are you looking sometime 27 to implement this?
So through Mr. Chair, our Director of Finance is on the line and she's available to answer some questions here. I don't know, Mary, if you're able to take that question.
Yes, I am. Sorry, just give me one moment. I don't know why my camera's not working.
Working now.
No, it is.
Okay, awesome. So there is a 20-day comment or appeal period on this. And we do have some funds budgeted in our budget for our CIP similar to previous years. Just the uptake hasn't been as high, but now that it's township wide, hopefully the uptake will be higher. But we do still have funds for 2026. So it can be implemented after the appeal period has passed, and we would work with just basically looking at what the uptake is now it's township wide and reviewing how we should update our budget in future years. But I'd be working really closely with our CAO and our Director of Corporate Services, Municipal Clerk, just depending on how many.
Okay, I guess we're losing you with the internet connection. I don't know if you're frozen, you can hear us.
Just blinking again.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
question. What's the amount of funding we have this year, and what do you project over the next, say, next few years? What sort of funding you'd be looking at to get this program off the ground?
So we do, I believe we have 5,000 this year that hasn't been used yet, and we would need to see what the uptake is and determine there's a lot of unknowns, I guess, at this time in terms of what the uptake will be having it countywide, but what we've heard from other township wide. What we've heard from other municipalities that have township wide plans is that even their uptake is low as well. So we'd have to just see what our uptake is in 2026 and 2027 and adjust our budget accordingly.
In terms of the budget, we have a grant program. Is this going to be a standalone CIP, or are we going to try to sort of allocate one part of money to both activities?
Similar to previous years, I think
Oh, so through Mr. Chair, sorry, the ARU grant program is separate from the CIP.
I'm not at the ARU, we give money to say Friends on the, Friends on the Creek and all that.
Community
sort of-
grant.
The
Yeah.
community grant program would be separate from
Okay.
the CIP, yes.
Okay, a question to you, flow chart, this is good document, but I'm sure there's a lot of people would appreciate a flow chart to help navigate through the process, just go here, just go there type of thing. So that's something that can be accommodated.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, flowcharts can certainly be involved in this and it's usually part of the application process. What we haven't done on this project, because I didn't know this was part of the scope, was the creation of the application. Every municipality seems to create their own applications for these. I know the ones we do typically have the flowchart piece to it. Onto a little PDFs, really easy, download on a website, and all of a sudden any person that's interested can make an application based on it, but yes, flowchart could happen on the processes.
Any issues with anyone?
No, through Mr. Chair, that sounds like a good idea to have part of the application.
Okay, the next thing is, we may have, many applicants, applying for limited funding. And there's gonna be, evaluation done by the evaluation committee. For transparency purposes, can we have something in the document that says this is how we will be prioritizing, the various applicants? There's a scarcity of funds and, a large number of applicants.
Yes, so just given the unknowns at this time, yeah, we could definitely work on a report to council and outline our recommendations and get council's direction. And I believe that most municipalities do report annually on, the number of applications received, the successes, and just more information about which programs are getting the most uptake, just as like a monitoring activity as part of the CIP grant funds. But I'll let Sean maybe add to that if I missed anything.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, no, Mary's quite right, on that front, typically not added into the document itself. The CIP document piece is usually a companion of sorts as much as the application form is a companion. Why? Because you monitor to tweak and make changes in a positive way. All that information can certainly be done on a companion piece, and anyone applying to it would be actually reading kind of the, how to fill out application, and this is how you will be assessed. That can easily be part of that. It's not, in my experience, it's not always put into the CIP document per se. It's kept on the side in case there's forthcoming changes over the years through monitoring and evaluation.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Bailey?
Great, thank you. Thanks for coming today. Just a question, you had mentioned for the financial incentives that they're the four new projects, and they might not always be happening at the same time. So I guess my question would be, how do we avoid confusion to the public about which project is happening or which incentive grant is current and which one's coming up? And how do you handle that if in say 2028, we're going to have these two, we're taking the applications for that in 2027, but they don't apply in 2027. How do you avoid some of that confusion?
Through you, Mr. Chair, in my experience, the way we've seen it occur is that obviously there's an application season per se, that's announced. And because you have an annual report, you understand those types of things, so you want to be strategic and say, we only have so many dollars. We're going to try and chase down 3 facade improvements. We're going to try and chase down one of these or one of those. Or if you already know something, you've been talking to folks and they're going to create a licensed home childcare, you might say that's the ones we're going to go with. So you get to pick and choose kind of from the suite of programs you have, and you're going to be able to probably, as you're suggesting, resource a few of those, not all of them, and certainly not every application that comes in. So it is really incumbent on the township to make sure that they have a bit of this is my marketing pitch, right? A bit of a marketing program, ensuring that this is probably identified through either social media or certainly on your website, taking applications between this date and that date. Programs for 2026 or 2027, whatever it may be, will include this, and this. And if you want to say not taking applications on this, and this, you have the flexibility to do that.
Okay. So Mary, this might be more logistical, but just for my understanding, if we approve, a set amount for the budget for all of these different incentives, are we only offering so many of each one because it's first come, first serve, or is there a total pot? And once we start to, how does that work?
Yeah,
what's
so I
in the
think I think this is something that Courtney, Miss White Fox, myself, and Miss Brotherson should discuss after the CIP is implemented to report back to council on how we want to prioritize some of these grant programs, just given there's a lot of unknowns right now in terms of which ones will have higher uptake or whatnot. So we can talk about that internally with staff, and Courtney, maybe add to that if you have anything else to add.
So through the chair, just in terms of the marketing piece as well, because I think that's important, and we have a number of things that go out to community households. We have our community guide, we have newsletters and the tax inserts and that sort of thing. So I think once we come up with a strategy, those are great places where we can start to push that information out to our existing businesses, and then also just sort of township wide for those that maybe aren't listed on our community guide. I also think just as we work through this new CIP, that first round of monitoring is probably going to be important to see where the interest was and where the uptake was. But we can come back with that sort of strategy, as Mary noted, in a report back to council.
Great. And then my other just last question was, it's always good to ask what assumptions are being made when we're approaching a project or something. So I've kind of got the assumption around the funding will be budgeted through council budget process. What sort of assumptions are being made around the zoning of people that are applying?
Through you, Mr. Chair, zoning on property zoning?
Yeah.
Well, the assumption is you're gonna first start with, is it a business, right? Is it a commercial activity? We don't go beyond that all that much, we do want to make sure it's fitting within what's eligible. But it's opening to pretty much all.
That's true.
Yes, through Mr. Chair, and part of the eligibility criteria, and when staff and that sort of that committee works through the applications, that's a part of it too. So knowing that it's township wide and knowing that we have some permissions here related to agriculture and some home-based businesses, there'll be a component of eligibility in line with all of our policies and bylaws.
So the assumption is they would be properly zoned for what they're, or if not, they could apply for zoning.
It would be part of the eligibility tab.
I think I had another question. I guess my one question was around the home licensed daycare cap of $2,000. I guess I'm just wondering where that kind of came from. To me, it seems a little low, but I didn't know where that number kind of came
Through you,
from.
Mr. Chair, agreed. It is low but consistent with what we're seeing out there. And I think it's partly because it's a newer, maybe a newer offering for certainly for rural communities. And I'll use the notion it's a test drive for many municipalities.
And I don't even know if we have any licensed
No,
in the township currently.
but in this case, you could think of building conversion startup,
Yes.
licensed home childcare, and you tap in both of those at a county level, you can see where the money comes in. So you can actually do multiples and compound it and increase it that way. Other than in this township, you will have a maximum of $7,500 cap on all programs put together.
Then just a final question more for staff, but this is what you're presenting tonight.
I'm gonna do the exact same PowerPoint tonight.
Great, thank you.
First, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. That was really good. I appreciate all the work, and I certainly attended the public consultation sessions, and I thought I had lots of really positive experiences with your team throughout this process. So I felt it was really well consulted, just feedback from my perspective. Maybe 3 quick points. Really glad to see that you included the expansion of the boundaries. I think that was probably the biggest feedback I had from residents, or I should say business owners within the community, is initially it felt that the scope was too narrow from a geographical standpoint. So I'm really happy to see that. I had similar questions around the zoning. more just unknownness around. It's like, hey, I'm a homeowner, I want to do some projects, and then it turns into, but you have to go through all the zoning. So I think there was a degree of confusion in the community from, I'll call it the homeowner municipalities doing this. And I think as we go through this process within this township, what do you see as best practice with other municipalities that you work with and having a really successful CIP program 5 years after it's launched, when you kind of navel gauge the process so that we can take those wins, but also avoid the pitfalls?
Through you, Mr. Chair, so in my experience, best practice is marketing the programs. I've been to communities that give big money and there's absolutely no uptake at all. I remember working with one municipality, they had nothing for 8 years, like no one even tapped into it, and $12,000 grants type thing, and people they just didn't know about it. So, it's gonna be really incumbent on the township to get this out, and it's not one person's job necessarily. I'd say it's the job of staff and council. And use your success stories. 5 years later, we're also analyzing communities we've been to and reporting back on what it means. So for every $1 that, the township put into it, we're seeing, $9 investment from a private business and that sort of thing. I think some great things have happened here. Obviously, geographically, being able to go to the municipal boundary for the township is one great thing. I'm thinking reaching out and making sure these programs are still appropriate or are now appropriate to agri-based or home-based businesses that actually have public-facing commercial activity is a great thing as well. Monitoring, knowing what is successful, tweaking those things that are less successful in time, planning an amendment when it makes sense, because you have to go through the whole CIP process with the amendment, and getting that planned and forecasted. We're gonna do that in 3 years or 5 years, whatever it may be done. But monitoring, evaluating what's working well. And maybe it's a bit of a pitch, putting decent dollars towards in time. Some programs don't work because folks aren't getting decent dollars. These are also, what I mean by that is that the more applications and the more changes you realize through the program, it kind of takes a life of its own. You get a lot more applications. Not everyone gets the money, I get it. But those that are prepared, that come with compelling applications, and easy to give money to, tend to find their way to the top. And I think in time, you'll find they'll have a life of its own, and then it's really easy for council to start putting more money towards it. It's a success story for sure.
It's good. Great feedback, I think. Maybe just my last piece more for staff. Like, I see an annual metrics report from my perspective that gets presented. I think Councillor Sepoulis noted, I just wrote a quick reference guide, I think, for me. So can I read a 60-page report? Hell yeah. But if I can get that summarized into like 2 pages as a community person, I'm probably, my uptake's gonna be a lot higher. And I love the fact that in the township's doing a strategic plan now and annual reporting. Like, this is the type of stuff to me that's like a really good table in there that we can showcase. Maybe my last piece would be, we got the mayor's breakfast coming up in a month-ish. Maybe this is something that can be discussed there if you haven't think about that. And then also, I think there's reference that I had in the briefing note around a CIP committee, and maybe this is more for staff. Like, what's that look like? Have you pondered that yet? Is this another committee of council, or is this buried within other administration functions? And maybe you're not prepared to answer that right now, but that was another just administration piece that I kind of was pondering.
So it looks like
I can speak to that. Sorry. So it's actually a similar committee that we had as part of our last CIP in terms of individuals from various township departments, so finance department, corporate services, and building, to review these applications. And then we would discuss with Ms. Hoyt Fox at the end, just to make sure that we're all on the same page for approval or rejection, just so that it's a committee with cross sections of all departments.
Fair. So what I'm hearing is it's a staff-led committee. It's not a committee of the public or council. Thank you.
Mr. Gordon?
Yeah, thank you very much for all the work that went into this. It's a really good report, really good presentation. I did also attend the public open house and I thought that the display boards that were there were really well done. The renderings, the photos and things like that were really helpful. So that was really great. And then the report itself, I really like that you included a lot of actual local photographs and local businesses. I think that is great as well. I agree with Councillor Hurst about the boundary area being expanded to the entire township. I think that, at least I hope that will really open up the doors for some economic development outside of just the corridor. And I just had a couple quick questions. And Councillor Bailey kind of touched on this, but in each of the programs, there's differing maximum amounts. And I'm just curious as to how those maximum amounts, like how did you come to those amounts? And why are they different? And do you think that they're enough to actually incentivize like the uptake on those programs?
To you, Mr. Chair, that's a great question. It's a question we get asked all the time. It's comparative analysis. Looking at what's going on elsewhere, what is working. And I think that there's sometimes a misnomer that, the incentive is meant to pay for it. It's not. It's meant to incentivize to get them moving ahead of it. There's usually a lot more dollars expended in the activity. It's just what the township or the municipality would contribute towards it. So I think Councilor Gordon, what I would tell you is that those are just really based on and premised on our experience, certainly pretty local to the county anyways, on what's happening elsewhere.
If we find that the uptake is low on some of those programs, do we have the flexibility to, like, is it kind of a living thing that we have the flexibility to adjust those maximum amounts over time?
Through you, Mr. Chair, you won't adjust the amounts. What you might do though is exceed the amount on a case by case basis, and that is built into the report. It should be infrequent. You don't want to get into the habit of making that an everyday occurrence. And I would first of all find out why you're having low uptake. It may not be the amount, but it is in some cases the situation.
Okay. I had a question about marketing, but I think Courtney, you've said you're going to be working on that. It's going to suggest the mayor's breakfast as well. I just wanted to make a comment about the application process, and I don't know if I don't know if the current application process or the current program is a simplified program, but I would just like to say that as a small business owner, they may not have a lot of time to do it, so simplifying that process as much as possible, and maybe including the flow chart like Councillor Sapula's suggested. And I think that's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for the presentation. Do we, or no, we can't. I'd like to see us build in a ceiling for each grant program that's above what's prescribed. And what I'm trying to say is if a certain grant doesn't get utilized, I know we then through the budget process, whether that money comes out and then goes back in, but I would like to see it be prescribed that each grant item can be, say, 100% over 1 year's eligibility. The reason why I say that is if this marketing thing is what you're saying is the problem, called the problem. I want to, if one grant program is underutilized and we recognize that, we can then go out and market it, and we still have the year that wasn't used on top of the next fiscal year, just to then not turn people away. So if you build in the ceiling, you don't do that in perpetuity and end up with $100,000 sitting there. But instead of, you're talking $3,000, you'll have 6,000 available until it's not. So I'd like staff to consider that maybe it's through the budget process. You say, hey, we're gonna, we need council approval to leave that money there, because it would be a way to offset some some tax implications, because if you have 20,000 sitting there that wasn't sent out, you could offset your current year, but anyways. Take that as, some feedback, and I believe you that it's marketing, so if we get the marketing out there, it would get as much, same as we've seen at the county, we have these programs. It's one and done, but, each municipality was given the option to subscribe for $1 million worth of grant funding for housing. And some of the applicable White Box development for areas is fantastic. There's Sunrise. There's one, I believe, in Mapleton is probably a $30-40 million project that was shelved until this seed money of 700. So exactly what you're saying, incentivize it. It got the projects off the shelf. People motivated or help with the economics. So I'm very supportive of this. I think it's great. And that's all I have. So there's,
Comment through, Mr. Chair?
it's also not negative towards what you said.
It was not negative at all, just building on it, and I didn't, I don't think I answered for, Councillor Hurst, as part of the marketing piece, and I know, White Fox is talking a bit about this. Most of the successful municipalities we are working with have created the kind of Coles Notes version, one-page takeaway or brochure. Something that's, really savvy looking, glossy, that really works, identifies the projects, did you know type thing real quickly, quick fix type stuff, and having those on hand. No one wants to go through a 50-page document, it's pretty dry content, but they will take that to the bank literally. So having those ready, we did that for Mapleton on their project. We did their CIP, and these are things that work really well. So being able to do that, be able to go to the mayor's breakfast and flaunt things, and having those takeaways to individuals that come are really, really important, in addition to any social media or municipal based websites.
Great. Mr. President, you have a recommendation for this?
To receive for permission.
Big move, please. Mr. Bailey, Councilor Hurst, in favor? Okay, thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go back to consent agenda. Okay, then.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. See you tonight.
All right.
Is
Ms.
it
Bailey?
here or is it at
Is that
PCC?
the community center?
It's here.
That's your-
Here,
Oh.
here.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
We got it.
All right, Ms. Roberts, you have our consent agenda recommendation, please.
Adopt the consent agenda items listed for the April 15th, 2026 council meeting be received for information.
Oh, we already did that. Didn't I?
No,
Oh, consent, sorry.
we did do.
Okay, name for that, please. Councilor Hurst?
Yep.
Councilor Goya? Ms. Ferris. Okay, any items to be pulled up?
Yes, 6.2, 6.11, 6.12.
Anyone else? Okay, so we'll see the rest of this. All in favor? They're receiving the balance of it? Yeah, good. Okay, Councilor 6.2.
Yeah, 6.2 is Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing notification letter. It lists numerous EROs. Some are captured by subsequent staff reports. There's a couple that were there that weren't captured. Staff did provide comments for those, but I would really like to just focus in on one of them. ERO 026-302, communal drinking water and wastewater system consent requirements. Like this is advantageous for us. I know that we simply comment on a negative on something that doesn't work for us, we want to change it, but I think this is advantageous for us, and I would like to suggest that we have staff review it and put in a sort of favorable comment back to the ministry and say, great, we support this wholeheartedly. It'll help us with our development of our municipality. So I understand it's due on the 29th, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm okay with staff doing it without coming back to us, and we'll just get the confirmation that it did.
Sure. All right. Comments, Councilor Bailey, sir?
Which ERO was it? 3.3.
026-302.
302.
032.
026 was just the year, and then 0302.
So it wasn't in that big, it wasn't in the report.
It was in the 6.2
Yeah.
next year. It was not covered in the subsequent step.
Sure.
Let's take.
Yep, so through Mr. Chair, I've just drafted that whereas council supports the changes included in ERO 026-0302 regarding the communal drinking water and wastewater systems, that council directs staff to include comments in our report back for the May 6th, 2026 meeting.
Next,
Next one is,
do we want to get a mover? Sorry. I'll get a mover second. Councilor Spillis, Councilor Hurst, all in favor? That was carried. Okay, sorry.
okay, so this next one is the Manitoulin resolution to the Ministry of Environment to reconsider lighter oil for a tar and chip installation. I'm not gonna suggest we do anything on this, but it's something to consider, given the fact that we have all this issue with oil prices and concerns of what's gonna happen in the future with increasing costs for asphalt. Maybe we may want to consider this in the future, rather than leaving a road unpaved. At least we get something here. Maybe perhaps this heavier oil for tar and chip might be beneficial. So that's basically his comment I wanted to make.
Okay, so we just gotta move a second ready to receive that. It's a comment. Councilor, go to that, Councilor Spillis. You fine with that?
Yep.
Just, okay, all in favor? It's carried.
Okay, the last one I handle it, Councilor Gordon, you got to discuss too, so. we can take this
Sure.
one.
6.12, this is in regards to, just talking about how public works professionals, especially, those doing winter maintenance and pile drivers are experiencing increased, sort of like threats and harassment and physical interference. And, there's a letter there from the Associate of Road Supervisors in regards to how that can be addressed. And the town of Oro Medonte has provided a really well-written letter of support, and I just thought that it would be good for our township to support the same.
So moved. Can we get a second for that, please? Councilor Hurst?
I've had more positive comments about roads this winter and gravel maintenance this spring than my time at council. So I agree with the letter, but I think also when things are done well, the certain members of the public do reach out and offer support. But the inverse of that is, you can offer criticisms in a respectful manner as opposed to the letters trying to. Yeah.
All in favor? Carried. I think that's it for consents, right? Donations, not seeing any. Public meeting, April 15th, which is today. 2026, 7 p.m. Public information meeting held in person at the municipal office. 7404 Wellington Road 34 by electronic participation through Zoom regarding zoning bylaw amendment application B14. Bardwell 6759 Laird Road West. And also April 15th tonight at 7 p.m. Public information will be held in person at the municipal office, 7404 Wellington Road 34. Electronic participation through Zoom regarding community improvement plan. Which one's first? CIP plan or the Bardwell one?
Mr. Chair, will be the zoning bylaw.
ZBA will be first for everybody attending online today. All right. Corporate services 9.4.1. This is Justine.
It's 30, Mr. Chair. The purpose of this report is to provide council with a number of ERO postings that have been published, seeking public feedback regarding the province's proposed change to various acts and regulations as outlined in the ERO postings. These are primarily relating to Planning Act, City of Toronto Act, and Building Code Act. The report outlines a number of ERO postings that have been posted. There's one ERO posting that staff were provide comments on. It's 026-0330. With a commenting deadline of April 29th. So staff are looking for direction from council to submit comments on behalf of the township prior to the May 6th meeting for that particular ERO posting. The remaining postings have a deadline of May 14th, so staff are looking to bring draft comments for council's consideration to the May 6th meeting ahead of submitting those. Questions.
Did you want to highlight that one ERO posting that you will need to make comments without bringing back to council? Is there any feedback you want to give for anybody watching, or not putting you on the spot too much?
Staff don't have any comments prepared currently, but it's relating to changes under the Planning Act, City of Toronto Act. It's kind of a broader posting that talks around the streamlining, standardizing of official plans. They are highlighting as complementary changes to support the implementation of streamlining and standardizing visual plans, minimum lot sizes on parcels of urban residential land outside of the greenbelt area, ministerial zoning orders, upper tier planning responsibilities in Simcoe, and then encumbered parkland and privately owned public spaces. And then there's also comments in there around the site plan to prohibit a mandatory municipal enhancement. Some of these elements are touched on in other EROs, so I suspect the comments that you see coming on May 6th will provide opportunities to expand on what we submit on the booking.
So I was looking for that. Thank you. All right, questions or comments?
No, I'm satisfied. I don't have a problem with our staff going ahead and doing the 0 on their own type of thing and reporting back what they said. For me, particular concern is the encumbered parking and privately owned public spaces. That is a concern that we may lose our part-time dedication fee. Somebody gives us a piece of ground that says, oh, this is the new type.
Yeah, okay. That's great.
Yeah, I made some comments on the ERO postings and I sent them to staff. I have time.
It's a lot there.
This is a lot of repetition though, like said a lot of overlap.
That's yours?
Yeah, I think the only one I had was like the MZOs. Like I just personal opinion, I think the province uses more and more of these, and any most amount of transparency you can have when the province attempts to issue an MZO is the better type of thing. So it seems when reading it that they try to cloak some of that, like double talk it, but it doesn't seem as transparent as it could be. So I think as long as those are captured to a degree, I would be happy. And if you want me to share my written comments on that, I'm happy to.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I just had a question from staff about sort of some of these commenting deadlines. They can be pretty quick, like quick turnaround times that we don't. Like, I'm sure for staff, it's not ideal to have to come to council and ask if we want to provide comments and then go away and provide comments and then try and fit it in for us to come back to review those comments before they're submitted. And I'm just curious if it would be advantageous or if it's even permitted to sort of give you the flexibility to seek those comments from potential outside consultants ahead of a council meeting, knowing that it's an ERO that will likely be something that we should be commenting on in order to have those comments in time to be able to bring to a council meeting to send. I don't know, maybe it doesn't help at all, but I guess sort of just delegating the authority to staff, using their judgment, like this is clearly something that we would want to comment on, and you didn't have the opportunity to ask us that and to bring those comments back in time before our next council meeting, before this deadline applies. So I'm just wondering if you would find that to be helpful.
So, through the chair, and Kurt can chime in if she has anything to add, but the number of changes that are coming from the province is overwhelming, I think, for municipalities to keep up with.
Yeah.
With that said, we're going to do our best to try to streamline our comments because we could spend a lot of money contracting third parties to help us draft them. I do think staff are going to need some support from our planning consultant on this, but we're going to start. Staff are going to start it and work through as much as we can. If we had some flexibility built into our budget where if it needed, we could draw on our consultants, and I do think we have some flexibility already. That's great, because then we know we can start that process and we have the ability to spend those funds to have a consultant help us, but right now it's just with the volume that we're seeing, it's more, even with our consultants, even if we could get them to help us, it'd be just like we have a month to put together comments on however many there are here, so I like the idea of that. I think if that's something council wants to give us, that we can work into the budgets and see where we're at, that'd be great.
Do you mean for today?
No, I think going forward, maybe.
And maybe that's something you wanna bring back to us.
Mhm.
We can, how you see that working or what you would need to make that work. Or
Yes,
even just assist in working through all of this. That's fine too. It's just something I was thinking of
yeah,
as we're seeing these dates, like super.
I think it's by design, that there's,
Sure.
right, the volume and the short timelines, but we'll do our best whenever possible to get them in front of you and then bring them back with comments for the deadlines,
I don't disagree, but there's always the possibility we could do a quick meeting. Right?
Which is fine too. It's just
No, I don't, I guess.
trying to streamline it a little bit for staff
Sure.
to not have to
Yeah.
be so fragmented.
I'm just thinking budget, I mean, with the amount of changes coming that are here, who knows what else is coming, we could.
But what are we gonna do? Say, no, we're not gonna comment on
No.
this, like they're big decisions, right? So.
I think a lot of municipalities don't comment. It's
That's
unfortunate, but yeah, I hear you, it's just, it's so balancing then.
I was just gonna say, it would be really interesting to be able to track the amount of hours staff are spending on some of the. Well,
But no, I know what you're saying.
but for the public to realize, like often we'll hear the public saying, there's a lot of staff there. Why do you need so many staff in the office? And often I'm saying, do you realize the amount of downloading or work that's being given
Changes.
from the province down that staff need to keep up with? I mean, if you had a number, she said like, a reason to kind of back it up, but it's a lot of work being asked.
Do work, redo work, do work, redo work, that's Sarah Wilhelm's job with the town.
And
Changes.
Pay consultants and it's a lot of goes on.
Anyways, were we asking for something? Yeah, no, I'm not being smart either.
Do the euro.
Oh yeah, the arrow, so, providing comments and then reporting on that, but then the report on May 9th or whatever, May 5th will have the comments that will be submitted, so we're still comfortable with that. So are we doing, did we do enough time? Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think it's
Valid.
yeah. It's clear as mud.
we're good.
I read some of them and I thought the Parkland one was more speaking to. You couldn't exclude lands that were, say, natural heritage feature that developers were trying to. Use as their parkland dedication and certain types of lands. And then I thought, was there reference to the parkland dedication fee and how it's, because if it was, we would definitely need to. Still say it should be based on the assessed value of the land,
So that's why, I'll interpret that.
yeah, so anyways, yeah, that's very concerning. Anyways, we'll look at it, for sure. Yeah. Okay, do we have a mover second? The mover is seconded for that. Let's go ahead, Councilor Spills, all in favor. That's carried. So we are on 10.1.
Yeah.
Correct. So, is there anybody presenting this one, or who will speak to it?
So I can start, and then our clerk can jump in, but, actually, sorry, if your clerk can start, and I will jump in.
Yeah. So through Mr. Chair, the township has received, 2 notices for environmental compliance assessment applications for, 2 CDM pits. One is the McNally pit, the other one, which is, license 4597. The other is the CDM Everflow pit, which is license 5520. At this point, the township has submitted objections to the environmental compliance assessment applications on the basis of needing time for review of the applications. We haven't received the supporting materials yet, but we have requested them. And then we're seeking direction to continue working with county collection source water protection as well as township's hydrogeologist to prepare comprehensive comments regarding the BCA applications.
No, wait for information and we'll get that.
Just my only comment was, I think it says in there, and in both of them, the ministry may require monitoring of the industrial wastewater effluent discharge leaving the site. I think may is strong enough, so that was my comment, that monitoring should be required.
Shall. Not should, shall.
Must.
Shall means will.
Must.
Sure.
Is it? Will is will?
You will.
Will. I thought
Or you
shall was-
must.
I thought shall was a will. Shall's not a will.
No,
Okay.
or must.
I thought shall was a will.
I think it depends on what you're reading. Yes.
Thank you for agreeing with me. Councilor Hurst?
I'm supportive of objecting the ECA's
Yeah.
stuff there.
You will support the objection?
I will support the objection.
Good.
If we have details that's, we want staff and our consultants to look at. Is it appropriate to speak to that in open, or is that something that would be considered part of the flow just as a, you know, almost like a legal process?
I think that depends on what the details are.
But you can always, those can always be communicated. And then
Email.
they can be incorporated in the reports and that sort of thing. Yes.
But just, like I think I can speak in general, their compliance with the site plan and the zoning, extractive zoning. Which to me would be extractive zoning, site plan is a component of that. Right, that is where I'm going. And when we went through the ECA for Badger. The individuals at MECPs, I believe the condition of their ECA is that they're in compliance with local zoning. So I want to take a look at. How, if that. Because extractive is zoning is site plan tied to extractive, that kind of angle, so I can put it in better wording.
So through Mr. Chair, what we can look at is, I agree, the ECA approvals often include wording that. Property owner has to be in compliance with sort of like all other, whether it be municipal or other jurisdictions that may have. Conditions or approval processes in place, and so. Not knowing this, but if there is an aggregate, an area license on the property being in compliance with their area license, I would want to ask the question if that is also conditioned through the CA, as in addition to zoning, local zoning and other approvals.
So I would compare our submissions for. Car reports, our concerns around car reports to these licenses.
Mhm.
As part of that review,
Staff can take that away, not knowing the legalities, and
and there may not be anything. but
yes,
Just.
yep.
So much for keeping in. Line.
That's
So. That's all I know. Okay, so we just need a mover and a seconder to receive that. Councilor Hurst, Councilor Phelan. Any other questions from what I said? Did that raise any? Favor? It's carried. 10.2, can we have a mover and seconder to receive this for information, please? Councilor Lewis, Councilor Hurst, any questions or comments?
Just one for me is I thought the graphics in the back end, and I don't have the page rated or me, were really good in terms of that work, and maybe just a suggestion. Would be. As part of the annual reporting that the township does through. The chief building official, if they can take that and repurpose that to some township specific data, it would look phenomenal to push out to. In terms of new housing builds in the township as opposed to at the county level, just when I was reading that, that was really well done. So just a suggestion.
You understand what you're saying?
The visuals.
Yeah,
with the charts, right?
yeah, at the back end, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Most disappointing part about this was when I read that there was 14 lots created. 8 Pusswich. The amount of work we do at land division, you know, I tell me it was only 14, feels like we do 14 a month. It's a lot of work, I thought, wow, but they said, well, some of those are farm surplus and prime, so they didn't get reported on there, and I'm like, 8, that's it, or 14 total, holy moly. It is busy, it seemed like a lot more than that, but that was a bit of a reality check to see that it was like 14 in the row across the. Sorry, did I give them a second for that yet? Okay, any other questions or comments? Right, all in favor? That's carried. We did 10-3, right? Or no, that was, we dealt with it.
Yes, but this is just, a notice that the permit has been issued, so it's for information.
Okay, can you move please, Councilor Gloria, from schools, thank you. Any questions or comments on that one? All in favor? It's carried. Council reports. OPA 131 passed committee on Thursday. It was as presented as presented to committee. There was some modifications due to rural growth being allocated back to Erin. The county be a special policy area for the top portion of the new Agricola Hamlet boundary. As rural growth allocation becomes available, then will be a smoother transition for the county to amend that special policy area and give potential growth. The lot at the corner that was proposed to be removed, it's 34 in Victoria. They included that little piece in the new boundary. So that was some feedback from council that they adopted. Severn stayed the same. So the rural allocation went back to Erin. As far as I know, it hasn't been allocated by Erin or the county, any component of rural growth. Their Severn state is staying at 2005. So it will be on county council at the end of the month on Thursday. Oh, I will back up. We did have some delegations on some applicant-driven boundary expansions. The committee did not endorse those. However, the growth is still in the hamlets, so that's good. So it'll go to county council on the Thursday. There's delegations from Erin around the rural Severn state, but it shouldn't have an effect on Pusswich because the growth has gone back to Erin. The county made those adjustments to make sure that we're still good. So regardless of what happens in Erin, what we have proposed should stay the same. It'll then go to the ministry for approval. Oh, there was delegation or request for the, the Danby lands from the public meeting that wasn't adopted. No changes to 131. Sorry, what was the employment lands? No changes to the employment land study, which is inside 131. It stayed as proposed from earlier. Yeah, it'll go to the ministry for approval after Thursday. Last Thursday, county council. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Details? No. I think that's it. Do you have any questions for me on the okay? Okay, so if we have a second to receive that, please. Mr. Lewis, Councilor Hurst, all in favor? It's carried. Oh, and any council member updates? Okay.
Final meeting.
So sorry, through the chair, I may just bring attention to the bylaw. This is for our community housing development fund agreement with the county.
Oh,
So there's not a report on the agenda, but this is to authorize the execution of the two agreements, one for Sunrise, who's the recipient of $800,000, and the other $200,000 towards the township's ARU grant program. So this is the next step in that process, and you'll see more information on May 6th to get that get our ARU program up and running.
that's great.
There you go.
Bylaw 2026-019, being a bylaw to authorize the entering into agreements with the County of Wellington for the Community Housing Development Fund, be taken as read 3 times and finally passed in open council.
Please.
Do I need,
Councilor Hurst.
I need out on that, will I? As a-
Oh, yeah, probably.
Sunrise.
You need a sheet
Sorry.
too.
Sorry, that just occurred to me.
Councilor Bailey. Councilor Croida, all in favor? Announcements. Well, they can remark it.
Just the one, where the ditch cleanup on their side.
Yes,
Second township cleanup day. The people will receive their garbage bag and flyer in their mailbox shortly. Some are more keen than others. That should be pretty good to show. Yeah. Also, we have that mayor's, it was mentioned earlier, the mayor's breakfast coming up May 5th. I know we have another meeting. When is it?
May 13th.
13. Oh, what's the 5th? Well, the council meeting's the 5th.
6.
6th? One of those days.
I don't know what the fifth
Anyways,
is.
mayor's breakfast is coming up. Appreciate support, reach out to businesses to encourage them to attend. More. Great. So May 13th, 7 AM.
7:30 to 9 AM at the PCC.
Be there at 7.
Yeah,
What, you
and
know,
all
I-
businesses are invited. We just would like them to RSVP. So we know numbers for catering.
Perfect. I'm not gonna say any more to get it wrong.
and I just have, it's not a township run event, but there's an event happening in Mini Lakes on Saturday, April 25th from 1 to 4, called Aging in Place Solutions. So there's a lot of exhibitors from around the county and the township. Councillor Ballmer and I will be there to chat with folks. Anyway, come on out.
Okay,
April 25th.
perfect. Anything else from any other members? Okay, no. Business arising from the closed session. See none, you know some motions today? New business. See none, regulatory bylaw.
So the following bylaw be taken as read 3 times and finally passed in open council, bylaw 1026-020, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the township of Whistler at its meeting held on the 15th day of April 2026.
And mover please. Mr. Bailey, Mr. Lewis, all in favor? And adjournment.
That council hereby adjourns at 2:47 PM.
Mr. Goida, Mr. Bailey, in favor? Carried. Okay, everybody?
Oh, that was getting it. We'll see another meeting at 3.
Yeah, we got a 3 o'clock.